You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Donald Kelly. Donald is a sales evangelist, which we're going to find out about. He's a podcast host, so I'm under a bit of pressure here, and author of 3 books. So, Donald, first up, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here and to be in front of your community and share some insights. Hopefully, you can get one or two things that can help them out as much as it's helped me. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing I really want to talk to you about, because I was looking at the books and sell it like a mango. Oh, hello, a bit different. What is that? I thought, yeah, here we go. This is it. I've got the show. Sell it like a mango. What is that all about? What do you mean?
yeah. So I was working on, to start off with the backstory. I grew up in Jamaica as a kid and moved to the United States when I was 9. And one of the things that I tried to sell when I was a kid, one of the very first product was a mango, tried to sell in a front yard. So I had a conversation with my book coach, and he was like, what are you going to do? You can't do another sales book on closing skills or how to prospect. It's like, that's already done. Everybody's already done that. What's going to make you stand out a little bit more? And I'm like, geez, I don't know. And then he said, tell me about the first product you sold. And I told him about mango. And here's the thing that happened with that. There's so much behind it. So, you would go down to Kingston or Spanish Town and you see people selling mangoes or selling fruits and vegetables. It's not like the things that they were selling was much different than what I was selling. It's not like the mangoes they're getting is imported from like Indonesia. It's like mango from probably their backyard, just like mine, probably the same species of mango. But what was making them more successful than I was? So my cousins used to always want mangoes and have me climb the tree to go get it. So I figured if they want it, other people want it too. Therefore, I tried to set up a mango stand in the front yard. And I had a goal, I had a vision to get this. There's this ninja on a motorcycle, and this ninja bike that I wanted to get. And I didn't have the money to do it. So I started trying to sell. And guess how many mangoes I sold that day?
I want to say hundreds, but I feel there is a but. Go on, tell me.
There's a but. There's a huge but there. I sold absolutely nothing.
Zero.
And so again, go back to this comparison. Like, what was different? Again, the same exact mangoes, the same exact region, the same type of people for the most part. Like, what made it so different? Came to realize it wasn't a product. And when you look at it, when I went into selling, when I sold technology or selling IT or selling in the medical industry, it wasn't that the products that I had or services were drastically different than my competitors. But the thing about it was that there's things that separated us, and usually come down to the seller. I noticed this from the mango sellers, and I noticed it again in B2B. I noticed it if you're doing B2C. I did door-to-door security sales. Everyone is selling the same type of security service. Maybe the companies were both selling ADT monitoring services, but the companies were different. The product is pretty much the same thing. So what made it different? And it always came back to the individual. So sell it like a mango is that concept. No matter whatever you sell it like a mango. You have to distinguish that. You have to distinguish the value to the individual. And it's what I grew up and saw as a kid. So I adopted it in my B2B sales career and thus wrote a book around it.
Yeah. It's the value to the individual, I think, is one part.
Yeah.
And then the other part is that buying experience, isn't it?
Yes.
When you are selling something that's just essentially the same, I'm going to buy from that person. Why? It's easier. It's more pleasant. I like it. I trust them better. Whatever that reason, it's amazing how much impact the salesperson can have, isn't it?
Yes. And see, you go back and look at that again. If you look at the stories that we saw as a kid in Jamaica, I talked about it in the book, but there's some people who were dancing, or some people who had like music, or who stood up and walk around, and they were excited about the product that they were selling, and they made it an entertainment. So again, people were buying from them because they were different, but also the way they articulated value. Like, for instance, you go to some of the bus stops and you'll see mangoes peeled and in baggies. Why? because the value is maybe some of these people who need a quick snack don't want to rip the mango open. They want to get something quick. They have kids with them and they just want to get the mango slices. Perhaps you had folks that wanted to get the full authentic experience of a big mango or whatnot. So you tailor the value, but also you entertain, being prepared for when the buses came. Like some people, you don't need to be out there all day. Maybe I just need to be at my stand right at the right time when the triggers are happening. And there's the same concept we find with B2B sellers. Sometimes you find folks who just make the calls, or leaders who, they run through the monotonous, the motion. Like, this is the way we did it, and this is the way it has worked back then. But can we help to make our individual sales reps be unique? Can we help them to be different? Can we help them to stand out? Can we help them to edutain? And yeah, the leaders that's helped me to do that over the years were always the ones that I admired the most, and I've had the most success under.
Now, this is really interesting, and this is a bit of a bugbear of mine, particularly
Sure.
with companies that make stuff, that they get so fascinated with the stuff they make, which to all intents and purposes, as you said, it is probably the same as somebody else's. Now they get all excited and very upset when you tell them this. Yeah. But they spend this masses of marketing effort going, no, ours is different because it's got a green switch and theirs has got a blue switch. So, okay, switch. Yeah. And then they go on and on and on about the product. And I'm just looking, thinking, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You should be helping, as you said, the salesperson to stand out, give them the tools, the techniques, the tactics, the ways which they can be unique and different. And they just focus on the wrong area, don't they?
Yeah. That's one of the big problems that I found. It's not you. It's not about what you can do. It's not about what the features and benefits. It's don't deceive the sales, or don't help the sales rep get deviated from what the focus should be, which is around value. And yeah, I find that a lot of people got bent out of shape, and some still do get bent out of shape around that. That it needs to be about them.
Bent out of shape. That's such a cool expression. I'm going to try that one next sales outreach. Your salespeople are bent out of shape. And they'll go, what have I done? Donald told me that. If Donald says it's going to be true. No, but it is. You bend them out of shape. So you go, well, what do you mean? Well, let's have a look. How are they molded? They're molded on having 20 weeks of product training and 10 minutes of sales training.
Yeah.
What are they going to talk about? Well, let's not be too surprised when they go down that route and customers are going, yeah, but I don't really care about your product or your company history or all those logos on your slides, or that you've got factories all over the world. Not going to care.
No, it's not. It's what's in it for them. Let me give you an example. I gave this. I was in a training yesterday, and I spoke about this. I had this demo of selling software, and I had this demo with this IT director. And if you know, working with IT directors, these guys, they're just very short. They're not in stature, but they just want to, give me the skinny, in, out, and I'm done. Let's move on. They're not looking for, all the fluff. And dude told me, he's like, before you do this demo, I want you to understand, or he was prepping me. This is before the week before, a few days before. Don't give us any of your marketing fluff. If I want that, I'll go to your website and see that. And he said, I did this to another company. I told them the same exact thing. And guess what they started off with? Their marketing fluff. We've been around for this long and blah, blah, blah. And they took forever to get into showing what he wanted to help with. And he's like, listen, I got to go. And he ended the demo and got off. Back then was GoToMeeting, got off the meeting. And when he told me that, what he wanted to see, I focused on that particular thing. Now, the other company probably had similar features again, as we did, but it's not about the features. It's really about what problems we can solve for him and understanding what he wanted. In the book, I talk about this concept called the platinum rule. I had one of my mentors teach me that as a young age. The golden rule is you treat others the way that you would like to be treated. But if I were to ask you, Fred, what's your favorite ice cream? What would you say? No tricks here.
Probably chocolate.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
I like chocolate. My favorite, though, is going to probably be weird. It's just a plain old rich vanilla, like whole milk. Like, just give me that rich vanilla, like a really good one. But if I gave you plain old vanilla, you probably would accept it, but you probably wouldn't, be like. But if I gave you that chocolate, you probably would be endeared to me. Like, oh my goodness, Donald thought about this. He gave me some really nice Ben & Jerry's chocolate premium ice cream. Thank you. That means a lot. And the concept is, because I like vanilla, everybody in the world should like vanilla. But that is not the way it is. don't treat others the way you would like to be treated. Don't give others the way that you would like to be treated. Treat them the way that they would like to be treated. And that's where value comes in. Because even though I might think the marketing information was critical in the demo, for this guy, it was garbage. You've heard one too many times from every company. I don't need that. I want to know how you can solve my paper. We were helping them to their organization go paperless. So anyways, I went into the demo and I showed him exactly what he wanted to see. The deal was forward, went into an opportunity and developed, and voila, pipeline was good. And I had multiple situations like that. The second one I had, this guy, his name was Jermaine. That's my little brother's name. And dude told me he wanted to see this particular thing. So when the demo started, I showed him that particular thing. 5 minutes later, he's like, I'm done. I don't want to see it anymore. My demos typically was 45 minutes. But in my mind, based on the product training that I had from the company, got to go through 45 minutes and show them all of these things. And reluctantly in my head, I heard that training, that Donald, that trainee was telling him, no, we got more to do. But the smarter Donald was like, all right, perfect. That's it. Let's move forward. And was able to get him the proposal. And that was it. 5-minute demo. Need to be long. Treat others the way that they want to be treated. And I found whether it was selling mangoes or selling anything, give people the way that they want the product they're offering.
Yeah. Yeah, but I want to show you this bit. It's my favorite bit. I don't care what your favorite bit is. I've heard what I... No, and the reason I was giggling when you probably saw me laughing when you said about IT directors. A mate of mine's an IT director. And we speak about salespeople quite a lot. In fact, he came and he did a podcast, a little mini series with me. He put, what's the role of an IT director? Because he was so fed up that people didn't understand. They were talking to him like he's a manager or an operator. And he's like, I've got a strategic role here. Talk to you about that stuff that helps you longer term, or don't, We then did, what does he like about salespeople? What do they do well? That he could respond to. These are like 15-minute episodes. And then we did a what does he hate about salespeople? 4 hours. No. He wasn't. We tried to keep it under 15, but he called out some things and he's saying exactly what you said there. Trying to tell me stuff that you think's important because you like it, but it's irrelevant to me and my role. Just don't want it, don't need it. And listen, when I make a decision, I make it fast. I'll work out whether it's something that is going to help me, and I'll just tell you, and we can crack on. Or no, it's not. And then don't just try and do a million objections. Handled it. No, I've decided. You've got to totally respect that. So that's why I was giggling. I got Scott in my head when you were telling that story. But yeah, I like that. There was another thing you said. I made a note of it. I've circled it here on my pad. I think you said the word edutain. Did you say that? Yeah, I did. Okay. I thought you did. Can you just explain that a little bit to us?
Yeah, the concept behind edutaining is I found in our society and the way we are as human beings right now, we love to be entertained. And if you ask someone, what do you like more, education or edutainment? Do you want to go sit down in a lecture or to, go learn something, or would you rather like to go watch a football game or, whatever? The point is they're going to find one more fun than the other. And the people, if you could just understand human psychology, that's critical. So when it comes towards selling, I like to look at the factors. How can I edutain? How can I educate and entertain? And started a podcast. I started a podcast in 2012 conceptually. I started playing with stuff 2013, officially launched it. And in that span, what I recognized was right out the gate. I did a little bit of a performance in high school and try to do a little improv in college. And I got this knowledge. I got this idea, entertain people. People love to be entertained. So anyways, as I started doing this in my sales career, I looked for ways to separate myself, to stand out with this idea to entertain, and then to educate people on top of that with it. And I saw it work time and time again. With the podcast, I started off saying, if you listen to my little intro on my show, I'm Donald C. Kelly, the sales evangelist. So excited for another great episode. Like, that's my thing of, I start off with that and then we go into some of the content. I would also like do little skits and like at the beginning of the, in my teasers, sometime to emphasize a point, like go over exaggerate a point, like with a cold call or whatever. But the thing is, people got entertained, got hooked on that. So then now they were willing to learn or to be entertained when, to hear how do you overcome this objection or whatnot. So the idea of doing that can be adopted in any part of the sales process. And it's not saying you need to be slapstick funny, or, just be out there laughing and rolling or be a comedian. No, what it means though is that I need to grab your attention as the prospect. How do I best do that? How can I offer things that you might like to see? Can I incorporate more case studies? Can I incorporate a little video? When it comes towards me doing my outreach, do I send a boring outreach? On LinkedIn, can I do a video to stand out to you in DMs to stand out? It's edutaining, it's entertaining, and entertaining again doesn't necessarily mean it's got to be a movie or a full production. It's how can I help this person to learn more? The other thing that I learned with this, putting this all together now, so you have the human psychology and then also people wanted to learn. I was HubSpot last year, their CEO gave a talk at Inbound and she stated that 44% of executives discovered a new product and offering on social media. And social media is a great avenue, obviously, to entertain, but it's also a great place to be able to, people are willing, it showed me that people wanted to learn. So when we're doing our outreach, if the value proposition is relevant to me, if we can be effective at that and grab attention, entertain, they're willing to learn, educate. And that any edutainment concept has always been very powerful for me and proved to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, the important thing you said there is we've got to still be relevant. If you just turn up all slapstick and telling jokes and doing all that stuff, well, no, that's not going to help you sell. That will just put you in the, entertaining person. That's good. Right. Actually, now back to work. Let me go and look at this person who's going to try and solve this problem. But if you say, well, this guy gets my problem, but actually he just puts it across in a way that's just easier to get. It's a little bit less serious. It's a serious problem, whether we are treating seriously, but the way we're putting the message across. Because I don't know, we're talking social media, and I guess I'm thinking particularly LinkedIn.
That's my jam.
For the world that we're in, it can get a bit dry, can't it, and a bit boring and a bit repetitive. That's what I think.
And so I'll give you an example with that too. So my LinkedIn, one of the things that I did starting in the pandemic, my little boy is we started going to the barbershop when things open up because it's one of the tradition that we always wanted to do. Like I wanted for sure. And my wife, gave me said yes for sure. And my barber had a private studio so we can go in the pandemic. And when we can get back out and visit human, I started going to the barbershop and cutting my afro. I needed a well-needed haircut and started taking my little kid with me. And we would cut our hair, and I usually go on Fridays. So then I posted a picture of it, started posting that Fresh Cut Fridays. Now, I don't do it because that's the thing that's you don't see my feed, only Fresh Cut Friday posts, but it does disrupt the norm. When I do put a post of me and my kid with our Fresh Cut Friday, people remember it. It has nothing to do with sales, absolutely nothing. But people, it's an entertainment factor, and people like to get that. It's just break up the monotony. People want to see you as a human and see you as a person rather than just boring guy in a suit, or in our case, just like boring people in black shirts.
If you're listening to this, we've both got black shirts on today. We look so somber.
My uniform, like everything in my t-shirts and these shirts that are just like black tees. So my wife thinks it's funny. But the point though is it does break up the monotony from, maybe teaching something to now they see this post with me and my family. And it gets a lot of engagement. Now, the other point that I put back too with that is, even with the regular posts, like in order to be successful, to talk about this in a book, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. So one more time for the folks in the back. In order to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And again, the same concept. If 5 people are selling mangoes on a corner, what can I do? Everyone is talking about, buy my mango, it's fresh. Buy my mango, it's green. Buy my mango, it's ripe. Like I can't, if I do the same thing, it's going to sound different. What I might do is then make a little song, put some reggae to it, play some music, start just having fun. Get the nice mango, ripe and green. I don't know, I'm making stuff up at this point, but that's different. So take that to LinkedIn. How does that break through the norm or break through the noise? Maybe share something that ties back to education. I can give you Three people could do a post on how to overcome an objection. But what if I gave a story about how I absolutely bombed it in a video format and then I didn't overcome the objection, but what I learned from that? That's way more entertaining than reading about here are the 3-4 steps of how to overcome an objection. So that makes people, it catches people's attention. They're able to read or watch your video and then your content, and then they're able to come back and look at your profile, which leads them to start dialogues, engagement, and engagement leads to conversations. Conversations leads to opportunities, and opportunities lead to business. And that's how we teach it in our LinkedIn prospecting course. But look for ways that you can stand out from the pack.
Yeah. Well, stories are the oldest form of entertainment, right? When people couldn't read or write, but we wanted to share news around, it would be through the form of a story. So there was serious content to it, but put across in an entertaining way so that people would pay attention, listen to it. It's just, we're wired like that as human beings. So we've not really invented anything here, have we?
No.
Except people don't do it. It's like we've kind of unlearned all this stuff. Somebody in marketing said, yes, but we've got to be more professional than that. So we're going to put things out in really weird words that nobody uses and kind of bombard people with stuff that's so dull.
Yeah.
So actually, let's just carry on like we were doing thousands of years ago. And hey, we're going to stand out and do better because people's brains are still the same.
100%.
Yeah. It's just funny. Fresh Cut Fridays. I do something a little bit similar in that I do my orange thinking hat.
Oh, you do?
I was having a play with De Bono, De Bono's thinking hats, and there's these different colours. And I went, oh, he hasn't got orange. Yeah, he must have forgotten applied sales thinking. Now it happened that I got an orange hat in my room and my company told us orange. But I just stick this orange bucket hat on and then make a point about selling around it. So again, the content is serious. The content is bang on. That's my education piece. But the selfie that goes with it is me somewhere or other. Probably not even interesting. Might be next to a brick wall, but putting a face or doing whatever. And so you could sort of have a little bit of a mix up and it just changes. Oh, stop the scroll. Have a look at that. Oh, actually, that guy, questionable picture choice, but does seem to know what he's on about in sales. So it's not terribly difficult when you just sort of crack that code and probably have the confidence to do it, actually. I think I've chat to people who go, oh no, you're saying if they zig, we zag. But it's safer to carry on zigging, isn't it? But it's not going to work. And I had this conversation yesterday. I literally had this conversation yesterday. So, but that's what everyone else does. Well, do everyone else does that? They get everyone else's results, which is probably not what they want either.
No, it's like it's challenging because you go back to our village days or tribe days. Like if you are different, you risk the opportunity of being pushed out of the tribe, being pushed out of the pack. So therefore, many of us, we don't want that. That's dangerous. So we try to stay within the norm. And it's, I think we've been programmed. If you're different, it's bad. And give you a fun story with this. Me and my story. So as a kid, I moved to the United States when I was 9. So that's around the 3rd grade age, grade 3. And I had we have a local Jamaican accent, and there's certain words that I said different, such as a leaf of paper. Let me get a leaf of paper, like you're asking for a leaf of paper, and then house, is that the remnants of the British influence, and then Jamaican patois talking, you're like saying house. So it's like you abolish the H in a way, os, and those made me stand out. So what do you think as a 9-year-old going into 3rd grade, in the 3rd grade, what do you think I'm gonna look like? I'm gonna be an oddball and people are gonna make fun of me because of this accent. So quickly I wanted to be normalized. So I decided to make sure I can learn proper English as quick as possible. Grateful for cable in Jamaica. I had we Saved by the Bell, Zach Morris and those guys. We watched it as a kid, so therefore my English was good. But I still had my English, your patois versus like your American English I understood and I could talk, but it wasn't the same, right? So, but because of those Saved by the Bell helped me. But then when I came to the States, I still had the remnants of those words. But quickly, I started getting rid of that. I had to, get that out of my language because I didn't want to get picked on because I was different. Then fast forward when it started a little bit of middle school, but then you got to high school, it's a little bit more. But then in college, it was sexy. Like the girls like, the accent. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, why didn't I keep, try to be different again? And, and I realized it's okay to be different. And that's probably one of the early days when I saw, being different was cool. And I didn't have to be a norm like everybody else. So anyways, yeah.
No, that's good. But the other thing though, I don't know, were you ever told by your mum, stop showing off in front of your friends?
Like my mom.
Yeah, I had that one. Stop showing off in front of your friends, Fred. Again, so all the stuff that we're saying now is, would you stand out a little bit, do stuff to not completely show off, but to say, emphasize the difference. It's like, no. So,
and can I give some tactical thing with that too?
Yeah.
So as a sales leader, I could tell you, one of the guys that I coach, he runs, he's a VP, right now is a VP role. Started working with me when he was an individual contributor, and now he's in sales leadership. But one of the things that we saw was that he followed he did a lot of the basic things, and most of his teammates didn't do any competitors. One of the most basic things I'm talking about, Fred, is like a recap email. In order to be successful, do the opposite. Instead of saying like, well, they know what I'm going to send, they know what we talked about. I'm just going to connect with them next time and send over the calendar invite. But if you, in that calendar invite, put a recap email and put some of the bullet points, because that person is going to come back on a meeting next time and their calendar is going to be overrun with all these different things. They're not going to remember, but they quickly can see, okay, yes, I'm speaking with Fred today, and here are the 4 things that we spoke about last time. Gotcha. You have the CRM, but they don't have the CRM to remember some of those main points. But that recap helped. And it was a small thing, but it helped them to stand out. Video. So in preparation for the meetings, you have new candidates that are coming on, to new stakeholders coming into this conversation. You can do a write-up and send that to everybody. But what if you did a video and you just quickly explain, hey, Barbara, I spoke with Fred the other day. He mentioned that we'll be joining a call. Here are the 3 things that we spoke about, that we covered, and how we can help you when it comes towards our LinkedIn prospecting course. Jamie, I know you have some sellers on your team as well facing similar challenges. These are some of those same bullet points. This is what we'll go over. Below is an agenda attached, and I look forward to talking to you all on Thursday. Like, they got a chance to see me and get a chance to interact before that call. And that's that. It's not complicated, but that's a difference maker. And for many of us, especially as leaders, as we try to help our sales reps, again, our products are not going to be that much different than the competitors. But what's going to make the difference is that individual. And for the buyer, we are going to see that something that you may seem as little, we're going to say, holy crap, this person took the time to do something like this. It's different, because most of the competitors aren't doing this. But if you want to stay in line and be boring and to do what everyone else does and to get that same, I just need to get my 80% of quota and I'll be okay. Like, then by all means, stay in line. But if you want to do different, just do small things. And those small things will put you light years ahead, because majority of people are not doing that.
Yeah. There's a famous coach here in the UK, Sir David Brailsford, who was in charge of cycling and then in charge of, did he go to sailing or something? Anyway, when we won a ton of gold medals at the Olympics in 2012, people say, well, what is it you're doing different? He said, aggregation of marginal gains. And everyone's like, what? What are you on about? Because we do lots of little things, tiny little things, where they stack up, they become so different. And they were doing crazy stuff like, the kind of the weight of the bolts. They're taking their own beds, they could sleep better. They've got dietitians. They redesigned the suits with the seams on the inside, the less windows. All of these tiny things, it stacks up. It's built on solid foundations, though. These aren't just any old person who's riding around with a push bike. They're elite athletes. So they've got all the basics right. Well, that's the other thing we see with sellers, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm going to do all this bangly stuff. I'm going to start sending videos. I'm going to start using this. I'm going to start doing that. It's like, hang on a minute. You haven't got a foundation to build it on. It's going to come crashing down. House on sand, Get that right. Then build up those extra bits, those difference makers, you call them. And you'll start to stand out in a good way.
Yeah. It's everybody's at par. Like, I'll go back to another example with me. I ran track. Again, being Jamaican, it's just in our, so you're going to run track. as a kid. So I ran track, and track and field. And I remember, like, especially when I was in high school in the States, like I wasn't going to like shatter like the really good the runners. In some schools we ran against, I could probably be 2 seconds ahead of somebody, like, but then when you go against like the regionals and you're going against other top performing, athletes, you're milliseconds away from each other. What's that difference maker? What is it going to take for you to get? And that's going to be, well, have a strong, out stamina them, like just for a little bit more? Can I push a little bit further? Can my cleats, how many ounces, light are my cleats at this point? My suit, is it the baggy or is it the super tight one so it can help with the wind resistance? How much water do I drink? All of those things come into play, like you're saying. But when you're at par, what separates you? When your mangoes are the same, what separates you? When you're doing all of the fundamental things the same as everyone else in your industry, what separates you? And that's where it's a wonderful exercise like a sales leader can do with their team. Look at everyone come together, whether it's like on a Zoom meeting or whatnot, and ask, what are some of those difference maker that you all are doing that you find that helps you in your disco? Or what are some of those different makers you feel that happens in in closing? What are some of the difference makers you find in negotiation? Spend one of your meetings on that, and everyone could brainstorm. And one of those different makers that I learned early on was proposal review. I never sent a proposal. I stopped sending a proposal like early on to people. I would do the proposal review with them, and that was a simple difference maker that helped separate it. Instead of me sending you over a quote and you show and seeing the stuff, spend 5 to 7 minutes, book another appointment, do a quick proposal review, and then send you to PandaDoc. So that just to make sure I can eliminate any confusion that could occur and finally, you can tell I like videos, right? So difference maker was in my actual proposals, like now with PandaDoc or whether you're using like DocuSign or whatnot, but PandaDoc, you can embed videos. So I embed video. And then right before the investment, I have a client testimonial that also helps to, reinstate or resupport, validate then me, the point of what's happening. Little difference makers at this point, and I'm just trying to get millisecond against somebody I'm running against, so to speak. But if you can do that, leaders can do that exercise, and it's phenomenal what your team can come up with and how this can help you guys stand out.
Love it. Absolutely love it. What a cracking question. What separates you? Yeah. Which could be a bit of a frightening answer.
I know.
We're finding there isn't much. No, seriously, but then again, then it becomes a no. It's like, okay, we now realize this. We need to do something because there's nothing separates us. We are the same as everyone else. Horrible when you find that out. That's so much good stuff. So much good stuff. So, Donald, where can people get in touch with you then? What's the best way? I have a sneaking suspicion. I think you might have mentioned it, but God, just tell us.
I camp out on LinkedIn a lot. So you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. You can find content. Just search Donald C. Kelly. And do me a favor. You can follow, but do a connection. And if you don't know how to do that, you'll see a follow button, but go over to the right. You'll see 3 dots. Click on that and it'll say connect. And send me a connection message and tell me that you heard me on Fred's podcast. And that would be cool for us I like to engage with people. And you may or may not get an audio message back from me. So I'll entertain you there. And
video.
video. And then you can also go to our website, thesalesevangelist.com. We can find our content there, more content that we share, our podcast, and we have a free download, some 5 ways of how you can engage with LinkedIn and use it as a business development platform. As a leader, you can download that, share it with your team, use it as a practice means, but have fun with it.
Have fun with it. I just have fun. Have fun in general. Oh no,
This is fun.
No, I've had fun. I've had real good fun talking to you. So, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for making the time. Come along and talk to us.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. From a podcaster to another podcast, I know it's very precious when you decide to bring somebody on your show, and I'm grateful that you took a bet on me. And for those who are listening, as a podcaster, I know one of the best ways to grow your podcast is by other people sharing it. So I'm going to do the pitch for Fred, if you don't mind. Like, you gain one thing from this episode today, share it with somebody else. Help them to know what awesome things Fred's sharing. And it'll go a long way for him, more than money. So thanks.
Oh, you're coming on again, Dom. You're coming on again. Thank you so much for that, mate. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the Collaborative Selling Scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.